come to the dedication of the Dale Cemetery Heritage Trail, a project of the Ossining Historic Cemeteries Conservancy. It's so great to see so many people here supporting us, and we really appreciate it. Close to you. Fern is my technology advisor. The OHCC is a not-for-profit corporation, and it began in 2013. And our mission statement is to preserve, enhance, and share the beauty and history of Dale and Sparta Cemetery for present and future generations. And we hope that we are doing that with the Heritage Trail. We sponsor many activities throughout the year, including our monthly cleanings and restoration workshops. If you've been here, it's a lot of fun. We hope more people join us. We also have concerts and tours and picnics. And if you're interested, we do have a mailing list, so please sign up for that on the back table. And I'd like to take this opportunity just to introduce our board of directors. And we have Pete Connolly. Hi. Fern Casada, Martha Massidi, Jane Kelly, and myself, Patty Bassett, and we're just so happy that you're all here to help us. Oh, and the first one, George Weeks, our president, but unfortunately he was not able to come today. Thank you. And now Jane has a few things to say.
As Patty said, the OHCC, Ossining Historic Cemeteries Conservancy, welcomes you here to Dale Cemetery and the Heritage Trail. We have endeavored to start this trail, to create this trail, not for purposes not only remembering those who went before us, but also to provide a welcoming place for the living, to learn about the culture and history of our own community, to walk or rest in a beautiful setting, to celebrate or contemplate our own place in the order of time. But we didn't do it alone. We work very hard and we're very proud of what we've done, but we have a lot of people to thank. And at the top of the list, I'd like to thank, or on behalf of the OHCC, we thank David Carlucci, our state senator. It was his legislative initiative grant that made all this possible. So we thank you again for your interest in our group and this project, and for the grant that you gave us that allowed it to happen. We owe a debt of gratitude to the the New York State Department of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. In particular, Erin Drost. I don't know if she's here. They are the administrators, if you will, of this grant. They're the people that hold our hands, guide us through all of the bureaucracy and all of the paperwork, and have helped us enormously in seeing this project through. We have to thank the town of Ossining and Dana Levenberg, right here. You and the town have supported our efforts here. You support Dale Cemetery, and again, without your support, this wouldn't have happened. I have to thank, in that connection, Pete Connolly, the superintendent, and every member of his staff. These folks work day and night to make this place as beautiful as it is. They installed most of the signs. They've done enormous work for us. They've helped our organization tremendously. So we thank them and we appreciate them. We have to thank Miguel Hernandez. Miguel was our former president and former board member of the Ossining Historic Cemeteries Conservancy, and it was his idea to create this heritage trail, and it was his grant writing he submitted the grant proposal that won us this grant. So he couldn't be here today, but we do thank him for all of his help in getting this whole project started. We have to thank the Historical Society, Ossining Historical Society. We have Joe Burton here, the president. Okay, thank you. Okay, he and the Historical Society were tremendously helpful in providing resources, photographs, assistance in creating the markers that you'll see on the trail, the historic markers. And we would be remiss if we also didn't thank Norm MacDonald from the Ossining Historical Society. He goes way back with Dale Cemetery. He produced some original signs on previous iterations of the trail, and he was very supportive of this project, and also provided assistance in getting this going. We have to also thank the Ossining Parks Department and Mario Villardo for this tent and for all of their efforts in making this event come together. We also thank the Highway Department. They did a lot of work actually in the cemetery, helping set up some of the benches and things like that for us. So thanks to all of those people. At this time, I just want to introduce some other members of our municipality and our political leaders, and just ask that you acknowledge that they be recognized. From the town board, we have Liz Feldman, Karen Nancy DeTore, Jackie Shaw, and from the Village Board of Trustees, we have John Codman. We also recognize Sue Donnelly, who was our former supervisor, and she was the supervisor when the Ossining Historic Cemeteries Conservancy was created, and she got us started in those days. We'd like to recognize Doug Tershin, who's the president of the Jug Tavern, historic organization in Ossining, and Adam Markovics, who is here from the Ossining Historic Preservation Commission. So thank you everyone for coming, and thank you to all of you. At this point, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Martha Masidi on our board. She's the I had thanked Senator. I'm sorry. Again. I'm sorry. I'd like to have Senator Carlucci stand and be recognized. At this time, I wanted to introduce Martha Masidi, who is the former historian of the town of Ossining, and is a member of our board, and she'll describe a little bit more about the project. Thank you.
Hi everybody. So nice to see everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Martha Masidi, and in December I completed an 8-year run as the town historian. I also serve on the board of the OHCC. The history of this new heritage trail began in 2016 when the OHCC was invited to apply for a grant through Senator Carlucci's office. Miguel Hernandez, an original member of the OHCC board, thought a new cemetery trail would bring people back to enjoy Dale Cemetery, this peaceful place full of Ossining history. Through the efforts of Miguel and the OHCC board, the grant was obtained, and so our work began. My colleague, Dana White, our village historian, is is also on the OHCC board. I know you know her well, I'm sure. If you don't miss one of her talks, really. She and I joined the project early in 2017 and eagerly set to work on researching and writing about Dale and the fascinating people you're going to meet on the trail today. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun, a great project, and we're privileged to have been a part of it. The Dale Cemetery Heritage Trail, try to say that 4 times fast, you won't be able to do it. I was practicing it this morning. So it's a product of many Ossining residents who care deeply about preserving Ossining's local history. The trail committee consisted of 4 board members, Jane Botticelli, who you've met, and Patty Bassick, Dana White, and me. Dana and I were responsible for the historical content and the writing, and Jane and Patty handled all the business details, from the grant writing, endless paperwork, orders, and all the phone calls to the vendors. The committee worked also closely with Virginia Pope, the artist who designed the trail logo, the trail map, all of the signage, and the self-guided tour brochure, and it was such a joy to work with her. She was an essential part of our communicating Dale's unique story. Dale Cemetery Superintendent Pete Connolly and his team made it all a physical reality by installing the signage and 3 new benches along the trail. This is in addition to their regular work of their loving care of this beautiful cemetery. I also serve on the board of the OHCC. The history of this new heritage trail began in 2016 when the OHCC was invited to apply for a grant through Senator Carlucci's office. Miguel Hernandez, an original member of the OHCC board, thought a new cemetery trail would bring people back to enjoy Dale Cemetery, this peaceful place full of Ossining history. Through the efforts of Miguel and the OHCC board, the grant was obtained, and so our work began. My colleague, Dana White, our village historian, is also on the OHCC board. I know you know her well, I'm sure. If you don't miss one of her talks, really. She and I joined the project early in 2017 and eagerly set to work on researching and writing about Dale and the fascinating people you're going to meet on the trail today. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun, a great project, and we're privileged to have been a part of it. The Dale Cemetery Heritage Trail, try to say that 4 times fast, you won't be able to do it. I was practicing it this morning. So it's a product of many Ossining residents who care deeply about preserving Ossining's local history. The trail committee consisted of 4 board members, Jane Botticelli, who you've met, and Patty Bassick, Dana White, and me. Dana and I were responsible for the historical content and the writing, and Jane and Patty handled all the business details, from the grant writing, endless paperwork, orders, and all the phone calls to the vendors. The committee worked also closely with Virginia Pope, the artist who designed the trail logo, the trail map, all of the signage, and the self-guided tour brochure, and it was such a joy to work with her. She was an essential part of our communicating Dale's unique story. Dale Cemetery Superintendent Pete Connolly and his team made it all a physical reality by installing the signage and 3 new benches along the trail. This is in addition to their regular work of their loving care of this beautiful cemetery. And I'd like to give a shout out to Fern Cazada, who organized this event today. As in any history project, we are mindful of what has come before. This trail evolved from 2 previous cemetery tours. During the National Bicentennial Celebration, the first Dale Cemetery tour was organized by Norm MacDonald of the Ossining Historical Society to showcase 6 Revolutionary War veterans who rest here. 6 additional people of note were added for a total of 12 tributes, which were organized into a booklet for a self-guided cemetery tour. When the town of Ossining took ownership of Dale in 2004, Norm MacDonald worked with cemetery director George Weeks and expanded the roster with 4 names from the 20th century: a federal judge, a guitarist, a baseball player, and an Arctic explorer. Signs were placed graveside, and a new booklet was printed. This trail builds on these earlier tours. It comprises 26 newly written heritage trail markers commemorating 19 individuals and 4 prominent Ossining families. We broadened the scope of people commemorated by adding 7 individuals and 2 families to the original markers. To the military figures and elected officials, we added doctors, lawyers, shopkeepers, merchants, shipbuilders. We made a special effort to remember the ladies by paying attention to the matriarchs in the family groups and adding stories of 3 women, Catherine McCord Smith, Sarah Jenks, and Fanny Kane. We strove not only to mention their individual accomplishments, but to connect each person to Ossoning's history. In addition, 3 markers are devoted to architectural features of the cemetery. And there's so much more to find here. You can do this at any time that the cemetery is open. You can walk the trails. You're invited to come in and walk the trails. There will always be a map brochure for you to guide your way. Dale is an excellent example of the 19th century rural cemetery movement. It was designed in 1851 by Howard Daniels, a prominent landscape designer who also came in 4th in the contest to design Central Park. But Dale is also a park and was designed as much for its visitors as its permanent residents. Rural cemeteries are peaceful retreats where family and friends can contemplate life and death through the lens of nature and return to their lives not only comforted but transformed by their contact with natural surroundings. Dale takes its rightful place among other well-known and larger examples of its type in New York: Mount Hope Cemetery in Rochester, Woodlawn in the Bronx, Greenwood in Brooklyn, and Sleepy Hollow Cemetery right next door. In 2013, Dale Cemetery was added to the National Register of Historic Places. After we unveil the trailhead sign, take a brochure and take a walk back into Ossoning's history through this beautiful park with graves. And for those of you who prefer to ride, that will also be available, and Dana White will be your tour guide. I'd like to now introduce Dana White.
I'm not going to say much for once. However, I would like to talk a little bit more about, we have great people who assist us and who volunteer with us. I would like to thank Joyce Markovics for the awesome funeral cookies. There's actually a story behind that. In the 19th century, they had different ways of observing the passing of a loved one. One of them was baked goods, which I think is awesome. And they would make little cakes or cookies, wrap them in parchment or something with the deceased's name and maybe a Bible verse. So please enjoy the cookies. I would also like to thank Virginia Pope for her amazing graphic and artistic contributions. The sign and the map and the brochure and all of the accompanying graphics, it's so professional and so high quality, and we're very proud and we're very happy that she agrees to work with us. I would also like to say that I'm on the boards of all the historical groups, which is fine, I don't mind, and but I do, and it's really an amazing collection of organizations in this town and village that bring the history of Ossining into the present for people who may not be familiar with it, and who tell the stories of who came before. And I think we're here to celebrate really phase 1 of this project. 26 signs, not just people but also structures. You'll read about Sing Sing Marble, which has a very interesting history here. It was stone quarried by the prisoners at the prison in the 19th century. This cemetery was created in the 1850s. There was a little bit of a scandal involving the stone, and it just so happened that a prison warden was one of the first trustees of Dale, so he actually ended up being brought up on trial, but that's okay. It's really, this place has no controversy surrounding it whatsoever. So there's a lot of interesting stories. So this is phase 1, and we're already coming up with our list of our phase 2. And one of the things we really want to do, in case you haven't noticed, local history in general in this country until recently was predominantly about the white men who we all thought did all the work. Now we love them, but we want to make sure that as we create new signs that we pay homage to the women of Ossining, and that we pay homage to the African American legacy of Ossining, as well as other ethnicities, as well as other classes. It's not all going to be the 19th century aristocracy of Ossining, which there very much was. We really want to bring the whole gamut. We have on our list Henry Gourdine, the fisherman, who of course the waterfront park is named for. We have Theodore and James Pine, who were portrait artists, who painted a lot of the 19th century Ossining elite. William Arthur Slater Jr., who you may know as the man who collected a wonderful photographic collection for the Historical Society. He was also a local engineer. Ludmilla Pilot Welch was a painter who painted a famous picture of the Jug Tavern. Ida Fauché was a local religious leader and also related to the Fauché business family. Emma Turner was one of the first in the wave of people from North Carolina who came up during the Great Migration. This is a very important part of Ossining's history. Helen Brandreth Potter was a granddaughter, I believe, of Benjamin Brandreth, and it was in her memory that the first Ossining Hospital was created. Marlborough Churchill was a schoolmaster. He owned the school that is now on the site of St. Anne's. There's a little Churchill Street right in front of my house. Okay, don't go there. Emily and James Holden were coal merchants, and they had a coal on the waterfront. They were emblematic of the folks who owned all of these businesses on the waterfront. He owned the school that is now on the site of St. Anne's. There's a little Churchill Street right in front of my house. Okay, don't go there. Emily and James Holden were coal merchants, and they had a coal on the waterfront. They were emblematic of the folks who owned all of these businesses on the waterfront, the commodities, the thriving manufacturing scene that we had down there. And then we are going to do our darndest to get in a relative of Alexander Hamilton, Annie Van Rensselaer Van Wyck Wells, who was a founder of the DAR and was married to a grandson of Alexander Hamilton. So there's a lot, and there's lots more. And the fun part is it really is kind of a magical mystery tour of finding and bringing to light folks that maybe have been overlooked before, so it's exciting. Okay, so that's it. I would like to introduce Senator Carlucci, who's going to say a few words to us.
Good afternoon. It's an absolute honor and a privilege to be here today, and I just want to thank each and every one of you, our board members, and all of those that have contributed to this project. The history of Ossining is the history of America. The stories that are told from just the 26 individuals and their families is a real tribute to the lives lived and that have rested here. And by sharing this story, it really is putting a level of depth to our community, to know about the struggles that existed before right here, what had been done, how people had traveled throughout the world, explored new places, and decided to lay to rest here. So I was just excited to work with the visionaries, really, to say, hey, we need this trail. I hadn't heard of it before. I hadn't, so when Miguel approached me about it, it was something that I had to be walked through and explained to others. And that's what's so exciting here, that now this has come to fruition, and it would only be possible with the passion and dedication that these board members have to our community and telling the rich history of Ossining. So it's an honor and privilege to work with you, and look forward to continuing to support the Conservancy towards sharing Ossining's story. Thank you.
Supervisor of the town
Also, I'd just like to say very much the same thing as Senator Carlucci. First, thank you so much, Senator, for recognizing the value that a cemetery can have to our local history. And I think is so fantastic is to have this as yet another asset to our tourist industry that's ever growing here in Austin, or historical tourism industry specifically. We're excited to hopefully see the growth of Sing Sing Prison Museum in the near future, the Jug Tavern we talked about a little bit, the Austin Historical Cemetery, Historical Society Museum. We have just a tremendous number of people here who are passionate about Austin's history, and also how we really do connect to the rest of the Hudson Valley and beyond, and to New York State and to our country. So it's wonderful to have so many people here, and as I look around, I know each and every one of you really is dedicated. I know my first entree to the cemetery was when we started having walk to school day, and we brought all of the kids here in buses because they didn't want to walk from home because it was too far, to come walk up the hill through the cemetery to Claremont and AMD, which are right here. And it was fantastic because we started talking about the cemetery, and we started talking about the local history and how it could be used as an educational tool for our students who are right here. And also walking to school was a great way to get people energized for learning. And to have this here now is another way to get people walking and enjoying this park, as it was described by Martha Masidi, and really understand that this is a place that is a serene, lovely place to enjoy, not just to bury your loved ones, but also as an outdoor public space. So we're so happy, and it's been a great challenge, really to have taken on this cemetery, which is what happens in New York State when cemeteries can't continue to run themselves. But we have a lot of people. I'm looking right at one of them, Sue Donnelly, who preceded me as town supervisor, who really took it upon herself very seriously to make sure that we could continue to offer burials here. Many communities that take over towns specifically that have to take over cemeteries when they go belly up, close the doors, and they don't continue to offer burials. We have continued to do that, and again, I give a big shout out to your superintendent, Pete Connolly, who has continued to look for ways to make that possible, make that a reality, and also to make this such a beautiful space. And I know that all of us are going to enjoy the tour, and having these historical markers and having the recognition of so many different groups in our community is just phenomenal. So thank you so much to OHCC and all the board members who have put your heart and soul into this. Thank you to the community for coming out today to see what it's all about, and please do share it with everybody else so other people will come here too. Thanks so much.
Let's all walk over to the sign under the.
We're all gonna walk that way.
Okay. See that?
That's on you. So, all right. So on the count of 3, we can unveil the Heritage Trail. Going down? Nope, you're going up and over. Up and over. 1, 2, 3.